Ba 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 ba. Do 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 do. Yeah, we'll break it down. What? Yeah. Welcome, welcome one and all to my live stream. Haven't been streaming over the last few weeks. Kind of just recalibrating, rethinking, redoing, sleeping, escaping from the hellscape of capitalism as much as possible, not participating as much as possible. Capitalism does not deserve our participation, and we should abandon it. It's, in my view, the abandonment of capitalism, because it's abandoning us, so we should abandon it back, is going to absolutely be key in moving forward in the society. Like, if it's a corporate entity at all, walk away from it. Don't involve yourself. It's not worth it. Doom to Bloom, good to see you. Peanut Butter Beatrice, good to see you. I missed you too. Sorry about missing the last couple of streams, guys. Honestly, just mental health. Straight up, just mental health. The thing, Gabriel, good to see you. The thing that I have been feeling, and I finally have put my finger on it, so I think I'm going to be able to move from this position. The thing that I've been struggling with in regards to this live stream is very much the question, what now? What now? That for decades, I felt like my role in all of this was to wave the red flag, to be the lighthouse in the fog, to be the alarm, right? People would accuse me of being an alarmist, and I'm in hindsight, I really should have been like, yeah, yeah. When there's an alarm going off, you should pay attention, right? Like, you should actually, like, if there's a crisis, you need an alarm. Eggs D, good to see you. I hope you had a beautiful time in China, my man. We really missed you around here. The love your photos in the Discord, my man. I'm so glad that you're sharing, and I'm so glad that you had such a wonderful time. It only encourages me to want to go check out China myself. So with the election of Donald Trump and sort of this era of naked fascism, right? That we have entered an era of naked fascism. It's gotten obvious, right? It's being openly done. No one can pretend. I mean, they do pretend like it isn't as bad as it is, of course, because they're fascists, right? That's their job, is to try to normalize everything. But now that it's happening, right? I've been kind of left in a position of asking myself, well, then what's the point of what I do? Because it used to be the case that I was a unique, not a singular voice, obviously, but like a unique position, a third option, a third narrative, and one of warning, one of caution, one saying, hey, things are coming down the pipe. We're going to have serious conflicts, serious things. Well, here they are. JT, good to see you. Here they are. Right, they're here. They're in front of us. We're watching them. They're unfolding in real time now. That the things that I knew were going to come true are coming true. I didn't quite realize they were going to be this buffoonish. I didn't quite realize they were going to be this silly. I didn't quite realize that the people who were going to have power during this period of time were going to be clowns. But here we are. And it leaves me in this sort of position, where I ask myself, well, if everyone else is now the alarmist, because that's basically what we're seeing now. Like, we're seeing all of these people who are like democratic socialists, people who are left-leaning types, people who are sort of like trying to be like the center left, finally start to be like, oh no, ring the alarm bells. So what does that leave for me? Because I'm not going to also be an alarm ringer now. I've been an alarm ringer for a long time. And I'm still sort of working it out. Like, what is this channel now? What is the job that I do? What is the role that I have in the society now? Because it does kind of feel... Sven over on Twitch, good to see you. Like, this sounds arrogant to say, but it is how I feel, and it's my channel, so ha ha ha. It just does feel like I kind of get to lean back and just be like, I told you so. Like, I told you so. Like, when are people going to actually start listening to these communists? Like, when are people actually going to start looking at the people who have been right the whole time and actually start going like, oh, this person was right about everything for 20 years. Maybe we should actually listen to the person who was right about everything for 20 years. No, we're just going to keep listening to the exact same fraudulent narrative over and over and over again. It's just like, I watched a clip from Bill Maher, because the fascist system spreads Bill Maher around as much as possible, right? And they had fascist billionaire Mark Cuban on, who's supposed to be one of the good billionaires, right, as if there is such a thing. And they were talking about Zamdani and how he wants to lower rent. And they peddled out the old, tired, debunked bullshit line of like, well, if you put in rent control, then developers won't develop housing, and that'll actually increase rent over time. Basically just nakedly admitting that they've taken the housing market hostage. Just nakedly and openly admitting in front of your face that psychopathic capitalists have taken control and have taken your housing market hostage. And if you try to negotiate lower rent prices, they threaten you. Right? That's what they're doing. They're open about it. They just hope that you're too dim-witted and stupid to realize, or too cucked to realize, that you don't need to negotiate with these people at all. That if we all got together and deposed these frauds and said you don't get to be part of the housing market, they would be like, well, if you do that, then we'll leave. Bye. Do us the favor. Do us the favor. Get the fuck out of our housing market, our food market, our country, our civilization entirely, in fact. We should do away with these capitalists. And they're sitting there being like, but if you do away with us, then you'll be done away with us. As if that's a threat that we should take seriously. And people buy it. How to Rule an Asteroid, good to see you. First time commenter, hope you're here to be beautiful. And you can see how dim-witted we are. There just does come a point where you have to start using this language. Like, you just have to. And if you're going to be on my channel, I'm going to say it. Like, maybe I won't talk this way out in the public sphere or whatever, but here, where I get to sort of voice my opinion, majority of Canadians trust Mark Carney to help Canada's economy. We are dimwits. The majority of us are just slack-jawed, disconnected from reality. What is an economy even? 1 + 1 = potato. We can't build that building. We'll run out of inches. Just like Mark Carney, central banker, is absolutely interested in helping me. That's where we're at. You know, there just does come a point where we have to start actually looking at one another, being like, are we seriously this gullible? And the answer is, yeah. How to Rule an Asteroid says, my mic is a little crispy. Yeah, I know. I need to replace it. I wasn't able to stream last time because it wasn't even working. I need to replace equipment. I need to do a lot of stuff, but money. Because this is a system that runs on money for some reason. I need to replace yeah, for sure need to replace the mic. I also don't have my cover. I usually have a cover for it. I don't know what happened to it. As you can tell, I'm completely prepared for all of this. Yeah, Eleni, nailing it. If you take the medicine, the parasite will die. Yeah, it's exactly that vibe, right? Wait, if you do something to heal the pain, then you won't be in pain anymore. Like, but so many people have bought into the idea that capitalists are important, right? So many people have bought into this idea that these just rapacious pedophilic psychopaths are somehow important to them. That, oh, if we do something to stop these pedophile sociopaths from destroying our country, then somehow I'll experience a worse life somehow. That's never really explained. Nor is it really ever explained why we can't just like, oh, so the psychopaths will stop doing the job. Like, the market will fail, right? Like, if we try to resolve a failure of the market will continue to fail. That's their argument. The market is currently failing, and so if we try to reform the market, then the market will continue to fail. That's their whole argument. And instead, and their hope is that people will go, oh, well, then we better not do the reform to the market that's failing. Instead of going, why do we have a market? What's the point of a housing market? What's the point of a food market? If it's not going to actually achieve its core objective, which is providing food and providing shelter, then why do we have it? What's the point of it? And the only point of a housing market from the perspective of the pedophile sociopath class is to just make money from your misery. Oh, line went up, therefore good. Economy good, line go up. And like, this is where we're at. This just like absolutely reduced, completely like, just everyone's just like looking at their iPad, answering emails, drinking beer and smoking weed, and just like, that's considered life. Okay, cool. Eleni says, things happen in spite of capitalism, and capitalism takes credit for it. That's why. It's almost like if everyone had free education, you'd have more inventors. Yeah, like, it's almost as though if you wanted to actually stabilize your society, you would provide food and shelter for people. But, like, no one in the society is actually interested in a stable society at this point. Like, we are a civilization that has turned against itself. There's just no other way to describe it. That we are a civilization that has absolutely turned on itself. We're not interested in helping even our own children. We're not interested in supporting the concept of a middle class. There's no such thing as a middle class. There's just poor people with houses and poor people that rent. And then there's an upper class. Nobody is actually interested in building anything even remotely close to what could be considered a culture or a civilization. There's just like none of it that exists in the society. And one of the core issues, I think, that is going on today, that we all have to just kind of accept. We all just have to accept that this is true and this is real, which is that the ruling class are dim-witted idiots. Like, they're obviously psychopaths. They're obviously disconnected from reality. They're obviously sycophants. Like, they're obviously pedophiles. They love Nazism. Like, these are obvious things now. These are just, like, naked right in your face, like, smack you right in front of the face. Like, this is just what's going down. And if you're in denial about it, then you're just in kind of an emotional hysteria at this point. But the biggest problem isn't that they're Nazis or pedophiles or any of this kind of stuff. It's that they're morons. It's that they have actually bought in to the religious ideology that they espouse. That when these systems were erected, the capitalist class understood that it was bullshitting you. It understood fundamentally that its narrative was bullshit. And it knew that it was bullshit. And it knew that the goal was to impoverish you and enrich themselves and get off with the bag. Right? Which is why they've always had kind of a light touch. The ruling class throughout history understands that you kind of, like, you can't go too hard on the people. You can't go too hard on the public. You've actually got to have a light touch. And if they show up and if they try to organize, and have demands, like the No Kings protest that just happened, right? Or the Occupy Wall Street movement that happened. Well, when that happens, you should respond with, like, small, basic, piecemeal reformism. Like, look, really, really, you don't need a lot. Like a 0.5% increase on their wages over 4 years. Like, just something like, we're going to give a tax credit to people's healthcare bill. Like, you can make it, like, really, really almost insignificant, right? As long as it's some kind of piecemeal reform, as long as it's something that responds to the disgruntled nature of the public. Well, they're not even doing that anymore. The ruling class is not responding to the people anymore. That the people go out and protest, and the people smash things up, and the people show up en masse, and the ruling class posts a video of Donald Trump shitting on the protesters from a jet, an AI-generated video. Like, that's moronic. And the ruling class has actually bought into their ideology. They've bought into this idea that they have money, so they are better than you. They have money, therefore they are the arbiters of what is good and righteous in the world. And that you just need to work harder. Because they consider what they did to be work, even though, like, collecting rent is not work. Like, sure, you have to go talk to somebody, but it's not an actual job. It's not productive, right? So this all kind of loops me around to my original sort of contemplation, my original point, which is like, we're not ringing the alarm bell anymore, right? The alarm has been rung. The canary is dead. Like, the coal mine is flooded with poison. There's no sense believing that, or acting as though we can kind of come back from this now. Like, we stepped on the landmine. It's good. It's done. Content writes, I have a god-awful sense of dread. Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the reason why I've been avoiding doing the stream for the last couple of weeks, is there's this looming sense of, like, things are only going to ramp up in America. Things are only going to get worse in America. The Trump administration is, like, literally passing legislation banning anti-capitalist, anti-democratic, like, anti-family speech, which is literally like banning the Democratic Party. Like, will they begin rounding up Democratic members? Will they begin, like, are they just going to start going into facilities that exist in America and shutting them down through force? Is this something that we're going to start seeing? And I think the answer is yeah. Pretty straightforwardly, yes. I think we're going to start seeing, especially as we get closer and closer to the midterms, and there's this idea that the Democrats will take the House or whatever. I think we're just going to start seeing these Nazis ramp up and get more serious and get more devastating. And their hope is that the Democrats, who aren't really, like, this is what makes the whole conversation so funny, is that the Democrats are not really an opposition party, right? That the Democrats are just like the mealy-mouthed loser sidekick. That's all they've ever been. That they're there to just be like, oh, do you want to negotiate with fascism with a smiling face, or do you want to negotiate with fascism with the mean guy? And that's it. That's and I think more and more people are seeing that for what it is, that the Democrats are not just worthless, that they're complicit. That when I was growing up, the narrative was always that the Democrats were just like weak and worthless. And more as I get on, I see pretty cleanly and clearly that the Democrats are allies to the Republicans, and that their job is to present a false option, so that the project of fascism continues unabated. It's just done with this like statesman-like veneer. You're like Obama, right? We're here for hope and then change. Drone war, drop carpet bombing countries. Like, JT writes, what most people don't realize has been stolen from them is their connection to any struggle or reason to exist. Yeah, as colonists, most Westerners have accepted their lineage being erased in place of that. Yeah, I think that's a really important one. Like, we're here for a reason. Like, you don't spawn into this reality for nothing. And I say it over and over again, right? Everybody, like, you know what it is you're supposed to be doing. If you don't know what it is you're supposed to be doing, go sit in a black corner for a little while. Go sit in an empty box for a bit. And just, like, let it all come out. Let it all happen. There is an infinite universe inside of you that is bottomless. And if you sit in an empty room or like go stare at the ocean for a little bit, it's going to come out. It's going to come out. It's going to come out because it wants to. It takes so much energy from the external world pressing down on you to stop it from happening. You have to be perpetually distracted, infinitely filled with trauma. Like, you have to constantly be dealing with this external reality in order to avoid experiencing your internal self and your internal drive. And once you know what it is you're supposed to be doing, do it. Just do it. You're going to find more satisfaction that way than working for these corporate psychopaths who will abandon you the moment you need them. But the narratives of the psychopath class, the narrative of the capitalist death machine, has now discredited itself. That the people walking around still talking with this capitalist narrative sound like psychopaths at this point. Like, they're just total losers. And nobody believes it anymore outside of the people who are within the capitalist class, right? The religious death cult that exists in our society called capitalism. Because Lord knows it's not an economic system anymore. But this leaves most of the populace adrift. What is the purpose of our existence? What is the meaning of life? What is our collective goal? What is our unifying project? What do we think is even going on here? Why are we here? Why did we spawn in? What's the point? Do you genuinely think that you spawned in to, like, go back and forth between two spots answering emails for somebody you've never met? Do you genuinely believe that's what you're supposed to be doing? I don't. I don't. I don't think that that's a thing that people should be participating in at all. Like, genuinely, and I'm actually, like, quite serious about this. If you're starting your day by having to get into a car and go somewhere, you're probably on the wrong track. Like, just putting it out there. That, like, a civilization and a society that doesn't allow you to, like, chill out and have, like, a decent life. Just you're constantly bleary-eyed, shoving your face full of drugs in order to just cope with the reality that you live in. Maybe something's gone awry. Content writes, you Canadians need to lock the fuck in, literally. If you guys see the USA as a model, you are in danger. Yeah, I mean, look, we're in a period of harvest and then abandonment. That's what it is. And Mark Carney here in Canada clearly has done The Liberals have done a good job presenting Mark Carney as a competent choice to help an embattled economy. But Mark Carney is a fraud. Like, Mark Carney is a fraud. When I speak about, like, capitalism as a religion, Mark Carney is one of, like, the archdioceses. He's, like, one of the archbishops of it. That he understands the subject better than most, but his problem is one of belief, right? He just believes that if you give all the money to the rich, things will work out. And that's just a religious belief, right? There's no economic evidence. There's no scientific evidence. There's no tests that have ever been done to show that that's an accurate statement. Quite the opposite. In fact, for the past 50 years, we've been running a test on that theory, on that very theory. What happens if you give all the money to a small group of people? Well, here it is. You're looking at it, right? It has all kinds of outcomes. And all of it was, in fact, predicted and talked about very openly and cleanly by Karl Marx, right? That if you actually want to talk about capitalism as an economic system, then you're a Marxist. But if you want to talk about capitalism and pretend like capitalism is good somehow or that it's somehow benefiting anybody, then you're a religious acolyte. There's just like nothing left for it. And this religion is what has taken the people over and has taken the society over. Everyone is moving forward with the system of capital as an article of faith and nothing else. There's no evidence to show that capitalism is working. And anytime the capitalists make an argument in favor of their system of capital, it's always, look, this is just what we have to accept. We've taken hostage of your economy, and if you try to do something, we'll destroy you for it. Don't you understand? Submit, slave. It's their argument. That's what they say. They'll use kinder language, but that's what they're saying. Long Defiant, good to see you, my man. Endings are also beginnings. There's a good reason for hope. We just have to start building the new world. Yeah, it's true, dude. Like, you're not wrong. I've got my little bees. Closed them up for the season. I am going to do a video. I've just been slacking on the video. I just need to make a video of jarring the honey. And then I can put it all together, splice it all together. It won't take any time at all. I'll put it up for you guys to see. And but it is, like, things are going to get local, and they're going to get local whether you like it or not. Like, eventually, the fascists will shut the internet down, or shut it down to the point that it's not usable any longer. And voices like mine will never, ever be heard, and it'll be Bill Maher and Joe Rogan. Those will be the voices you'll be allowed to see, and that'll be called comedy. JT writes, the Democrats, are one wing of the capitalist PR team. Yeah, exactly. Peanut Butter Beatrice says, true, spring always comes after winter. That's what I keep telling myself. Yeah, the pendulum swings. There is truth to this, that the pendulum swings. I've been having regular conversations with artists and people who have been having a similar experience, which is that there's this sense of stasis. There's this sense that, like, everything that we've been doing up to this point seems to be dissatisfying. Nothing's really working for them anymore. And it's like, yeah, we're in a period of total destruction and stasis because the pendulum is here. It's like gone tick. And now it's just about to start going back the other way. And it will swing. The response to all of this is going to be interesting. I mean, it's already pretty interesting. You can't make an organization like ICE. You can't make an organization like ICE and have them do what they're doing and have there be no response. Like, there is going to be a response to it. Timothy, like the mug, who lives in a pineapple. I got to be careful singing on this I feel like they've really tightened the music restrictions. So if you play some music, it just gets really wild. Long Defiant writes, the government is threatening to end food assistance in the U.S. Yeah, fine. Nobody in my neighborhood will go hungry, and I'll have more friends after I feed them. Great opportunity. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. That is one way of looking at it. If you can afford it and if you can do it. It's all just so silly. Like, that's just the thing. Like, I just can't even be mad about it, you know? Because it's like watching a toddler try to pick up a jug of milk and pour a cup of milk. You're just like, this is going to go badly. They don't know how to do it. They don't have the tool set to be able to do it. And they'll probably just spill everything and make a big giant mess. But you can't be like angry at the toddler, right? Like you can't really get mad. You can sort of be mad at the situation, I guess. But it's like we're so kind of out of touch with our reality, and we're so out of touch with what it is we're doing. Took me a minute to figure this out, what you were saying here, Dito, over on Twitch. Hello, my fellow leftist. I just got back from my 4th tour with the Waffen SS. I got a nice tattoo to remember my SS service. Please support my run for office. Yeah, this is a lampoon of the, I forget his name, it's like Graham Planter or something like this. A supposed progressive leftist running for the Democratic Party has a Nazi tattoo. And it's just like, I'm not really willing to double down on that story because the picture of the tattoo is fairly blurry, and it's within the realm of plausible deniability. Like I'll wait for his response, because for all I know, he'll show the tattoo proper, and it'll be like a Snoopy tattoo that's just gotten distorted and warped over time. That it only kind of looks like a Nazi tattoo, you know. It's one of the skulls. And, like, the reason why I'm taking that position is because there's so much concrete evidence of Nazism right now. Like, there's so much straight up just like, these guys are Nazis, that we don't need to create or manufacture any. I respect why people are being kind of vigilant. I understand that. But, like, if it was like a straight up swastika, I'd be talking differently. But it was like one of the lesser known ones, sort of a skull. Skull doesn't necessarily equal Nazi. It was sort of warped. It wasn't a good photo in the first place. So I'll wait for him to respond. I'd like to see the tattoo. D2 said he said he got a tattoo that resembles a totem kampf in a Croatian tattoo parlor with his military buddies, and he was allowed to re-enlist in the U.S. military with said tattoo. But he's going to get it modified. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, that sounds the most believable thing, where he was just like being an asshole with his asshole friends and made a bad decision. Like, again, it's not like it's like a swastika. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of these things where, like, an uneducated white man from America walking into a Croatian tattoo parlor with a bunch of his drunk military buddies, and them all going, let's get some skulls. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll pick that one, right? And then it's only afterwards that they're like, oh, by the way, this thing actually does have a history, and there's like this whole other thing, and yabba yabba yabba, and down the list it goes, right? Anyway, I don't know why I'm taking the position of defending this guy. Fuck this guy. I don't give a shit about this guy. Let's throw him in the dustbin of history. Like, I don't know why I'm being like kind of like Nazis are trying to get into everything. They're trying to get everywhere. Fuck this guy. Yeah, he's not going to win. Ugh. If anything, it's what it's emblematic of is how persistent the Nazism actually exists in our society. That it's like passively within us. It's like passively there. It's like we're passively getting hit by it, right? And then it's only when somebody stands up and points it out and goes, "Oh, hey, by the way," that somebody goes, what? Like, one of the most dangerous moments that has happened in the culture is actually the Taylor Swift dog whistles. The Taylor Swift dog whistles are easily and by far one of the most dangerous cultural moments happening right now. Because you have the Swifties, right? Young women who are caught up in this Swiftie movement, which is like common. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it exists. But you have this like clean-cut white American woman with this image of being the voice of her generation and all of this, funneling her people, or at least appealing to her crowd, with Nazi symbolism. And there's just like no way to defend it. Like the literal and actual defense that exists for this is straight up, come on! That's it. That's all they've got. Like, you really think that all of those Nazi symbols are Nazi symbols? Yes, I do. I do actually believe that. Like, the two that I'm just straight up like, that's intentional, is the necklace, which is right in front of you, which that's the Nazi SS symbol, straight up. And then also, are they going to show it in this? No, they don't have the balls to actually show the serious one. So Taylor Swift, so she releases 4 album covers for her newest album, right? Vinyls. These are collectibles. The whole pitch is, oh, well, if you really love me, if you're a real fan of Taylor Swift, then you're going to buy all 4 of these album covers. And the album covers are designed in such a way so that they have to be assembled. It's a puzzle. They're assembled in a specific way. And they have on the rim the numbers of the clock. So you can make like a clock face out of it. And then if you buy like there's like a little clock piece that you can put in the middle of the album to make like a clock. Right? And so if you assemble all of this in the order that they must be assembled in and then flip it, it's a Nazi swastika. Just like as open and as naked as possible. Like, there's just a 0% chance. Because the fallback position for these Nazis is always, whoa, what a weird coinky-dink. Oh, wow, what a coincidence that it just ended up being a swastika. Yeah, like how the New York Times on Jewish holidays will always put up a crossword that has a swastika on it. So it's this moment, like, this is the normalization of Nazism. That it used to be that the Nazi dog whistles were more plausible to deny, right? It used to be that they were being done in such a way that the Nazis could go, oh, what? You know, it's just an 8-8. What, you're counting words in my statements? What are you talking about? That kind of denialism, right? In reference to the 8-8, the Heil Hitler, and then the 14 words. But this is just naked. This is straight up like, buy my memorabilia, buy my merch. They have swastikas on them. Like, and so it's just being normalized. That Nazism is now becoming like a mainstream cultural artifact. Mainstream people promote Nazism and are Nazis. And we shouldn't be surprised at all. Here in Canada, Where was my favorite? Yeah. Canadian Embassy hosted Ukraine's Azov Brigade this summer. An Azov member described the meeting as friendly and open. For those of you who don't know, the Azov Battalion, or the Azov Brigade, they keep changing their name, right? Because they don't want people to figure out that they're Nazis, are a openly Nazi battalion, brigade, that exists within the Ukrainian military. They were used to start the Donbass War in 2008 and draw Russia into a larger conflict with Ukraine. They're directly funded by NATO. They operate on behalf of NATO. Their job is to make Ukraine what's the word I'm looking for? Make Ukraine viable for Western capitalist exploitation. That's their job. It has kind of blown back in a way, but at the same time, like, a big goal of the Western Empire is to weaken Russia's economy. And a good way to weaken an opponent's economy is to get them into a never-ending, godless war that drains all your resources, right? And at the dead center of all of it is the Azov Brigade, and we're just hosting them here in Canada. Canada's embassy in Kiev, Ukraine, hosted a meeting with personnel affiliated with the infamous Azov Brigade this summer, documents obtained by the Maple reveal. The Canadian military has for years claimed it will not support Azov or any of its affiliates due to their far-right ideology and neo-Nazi links, but the documents show Azov members met with the Canadian Defense Attaché in late July for what one Azov contact called a friendly and open dialogue. Global Affairs Canada, which released the documents requested by the Maple through the Access to Information request, censored details about what was discussed during the meeting. Cowards. Despite releasing the documents, GAC refused to answer questions from the Maple about the meeting, deferring all questions to the Department of National Defense. D&D, which initially deferred to GAC, did not respond to the Maple's questions by publication time. Cowards. The Maple requested any correspondence regarding meetings or requests for meetings with the Canadian Embassy from the Azov Brigade or any of its affiliated. It's just like so dumb. Like, I'm going to keep reading it because apparently it gets stupider. I love it. Days later, Canada's defense attaché in Ukraine at the time, Brigadier General Serge Maynard, replied that Kumok was out of the country, but that she asked Maynard to follow up with the Azov contact on her behalf. "It would be a pleasure to organize a meeting this week, if it works for you," Maynard wrote, before offering some meeting slots between July 29th and July 31st. "Please let me know if any of those timings work for you, and it will be a pleasure to greet you at the Canadian Embassy." The Azov contact wrote back, "Thank you very much for your answer and for your invitation to the embassy," before suggesting they all meet on the 31st and asking for information about dress code. "We usually work in civilian business casual mill-style attire or can wear our uniforms," the contact wrote. I don't know why, there's just something really funny about making a meeting with a Nazi. Yeah, maybe Planter is just a wholesome Azov enjoyer. Exactly. There's nothing wrong with enjoying the Azov battalion, right? We all know Nazis are bad unless they work for us. Then it's completely fine. This is just yet another pro-Nazi moment brought to you by the Canadian government, right? Like, we love saluting Nazis, we love putting up Nazi monuments, we love applauding Nazis in our parliament. Like, we have a pretty long recent history, in fact, of really loving Nazis and Nazism in this country. So we shouldn't be shocked by this at all. We shouldn't be at all shocked by this. Oh yeah, I did want to briefly touch on this. They're doing another Juan Guaido moment. So it's like really clear. Austin, good to see you, my man. It's really, really clear that they're trying to invade Venezuela, and they want to destroy Venezuela, and they want to get access to Venezuela's oil, right? Venezuela has the largest oil reserve on the planet. Donald Trump has been on record saying, "I don't know why we're going to the Middle East. Venezuela's in our backyard." They have recently been ramping up military exercises off the coast of Venezuela. They've been bombing boats and civilian crafts for the last little while. They put out a bounty on Maduro's head. And now they're straight up giving the Nobel Peace Prize to the opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, who straight out, if you listen to her talk, is like, yeah, we want to overthrow Maduro and privatize everything. That's what we want to do. Because this strategy is 100% working for Argentina. Trump Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent just doubled the bailout of Argentina's Javier Milei to $40 billion. The problem with libertarianism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. Yeah, the Mark Jr., good to see you, my man. Like, Argentina is like case in point. You can't run an economy this way because it's not an economy, right? It's just an extraction. Like, you can only really seriously call it an economy if you are one of the 5 billionaires that benefit from it, right? And even then, it's not really an economy, right? Like, an economy sort of implies like a cycle. There's a cycle of thought to it where like this person has money and then spends it, so this person can spend it, and then all of them are sort of spending the local currency that they have in order to facilitate production, and that kind of continues in a cycle. What's happening now is not a cycle; it's just an extraction, right? And then the extraction, they take the nugget, they take the gold that they have extracted, and they just put it in a vault, and it just sits there, and it's worthless. It's nothing. Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. And what they're currently doing to Argentina and what they're currently doing to Palestine is their plan for Venezuela. Like, and if you're living in Venezuela, like, you should be very aware of that. You should be very aware that the plan they have is being done already. And you should look at Argentina. You should look at Gaza. You should look at the places where the empire is destroying everyone and say that's their plan for us. John, good to see you. Yeah, the bailout really pisses me off. No money for public services, but plenty for Argentina. I mean, that's common. That's the common thread, dude. Like, that's nothing new there. Like, there's always infinite money for war. There's always infinite money for, like, go take a look at how much resources go in to making one single aircraft carrier. Forget about the 11 they have. Go take a look at how much resources it takes to just even maintain an aircraft carrier, to even maintain these things. And what's absolutely hilarious about this is that they're actually thinking they have to decommission these aircraft carriers now. They like literally have spent like hundreds of billions of dollars, if not $1 trillion, to have these aircraft carriers that they got to use for maybe 30 years. And now they're like, these are actually a big, massive liability. These are actually a big, massive problem. It's just so dumb. Like, it's just so they literally thought they literally thought that they were going to never fight even a mid-scale military ever again. Baldy with a $5 donation. Thank you, my man. I do appreciate it. Baldy, I gotta tell you, man, you're one of my most common and most regular donators. I really appreciate it, my man. Even though it's like, it's $5 here, it's $10 here. Every time, I really, really do appreciate it, my man. Good opportunity to say like, share, subscribe, hit the bells, hit the whistles. Consider donating. Right? It helps my soul. Thank you, Baldy. I appreciate it. Baldy wants to take us down another path, which I'm fine with this. This is actually my favorite subject. Religion is my favorite subject. What is my opinion on Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism? I've been seeing Christianity and Islam are both growing in popularity quite recently. That makes sense, right? We are in a post-truth reality where civilizations and cultures are disintegrating. And so the ideology of capitalism and the ideology of the state and the ideology of Western civilization and the secular arguments are beginning to fail, and fail pretty dramatically, frankly. Like it's not yet as dramatic as the failures of the Catholic Church in World War I. Like, we haven't seen like a true World War I moment where or at least most people in the West have yet to experience a World War I moment. They are certainly happening. And so when this happens, people will turn to alternative methods. Let me see about this thing. What's this other thing? Right? And Christianity and Islam are both well-established, powerful institutions that have a lot of followers and a lot of support and a lot to say, right, about the nature of reality. And I think one of the things that all of the world religions really kind of have going for them, and why they will continue to persist, is that they are at the very least attempting to confront the nature of the mystery of our reality. And nobody else is really doing that. Like, the Western sciences are all well and good when it comes to like, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what reality is. Like, this is the meat and potatoes of it. But it doesn't really do anything to help you cope with any of it. And to be like, okay, you exist. What now? What's existence? What should you do with your existence? Are you meant to do anything with your existence? What is your purpose? Are you meant to have a purpose? Are we supposed to do anything? Well, if you have nothing, like if you're literally just a person in the world, that can be pretty overwhelming and pretty scary or dissatisfying, right? And frustrating. Whereas like Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, right, Judaism, all of them, like they give you a template and they give you a way to communicate these ideas and these thoughts and to have even a conversation about it, right? Like even a conversation about it, I think, is the big thing. And right now, the big struggle moving forward is because the world religions and because religions generally have been feeling threatened because of the rise of the sciences and the Enlightenment and all of this. They've had a period of fundamentalism. And so Christians are like, Christianity is the only thing and nothing else can be done but Christianity, and the Muslims are the same, and it doesn't help that they're at a war with one another, right? So of course they're protectionists. And there's a lot of protectionism in the conversation right now. And that of course is frustrating for me as somebody who holds the position that all of the world's religions are an attempt to articulate the nature of creation and the nature of the divine and the nature of your existence, right? Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, these are all attempts to communicate something about the nature of your existence. And And what they are all doing is creating a language and creating templates by which we can have those conversations. Like, that's something that's not really well understood, is that a religion like Christianity, for example, like, you're watching the development of divine language, right? You're watching the development of a raising consciousness within humanity itself. That, like, we are at one point monkeys, right? We are just like apes walking around. And so the concepts... Hold on, I just need to get rid of this. It's too hot in here. The concepts of divinity. The concept of divinity is something that needs to be developed, right? The concept of creation is something that needs to be developed. The concept of existence is something that needs to be developed. And how do we create a moral structure? What is the nature of our reality? And I think that if the fundamentalism calmed down, and we finally did get into a position where the Christians and the Muslims and the Jews and the Buddhists could all talk to one another without falling into this, Jesus is the one true way, and if you don't follow Jesus, you're going to burn in hell forever, right? Like, if we could get away from that and get into a more understanding that, like, Jesus was one articulation, Muhammad is another articulation, the Buddha is another articulation, and they're articulations taking a swing at the same concepts, taking a swing at the same ideas, because the core underlying principles of reality and the core underlying nature of existence is the same. It's just our perception of it, and it's our perception of reality, and it's our perception of these things that is changing. Our perspective is what's changing. And every single religion has a attempt at it. And are they 100% on the nose correct? No. Like, Christianity, especially the Old Testament, like, it's a patriarchal document. So it's got patriarchal sentiment. Like, God is a man, for example, right? So they're imperfect, but they're attempts. And I think those attempts should be taken seriously. There's something to learn there, and there's something to build upon. Like, we as a people need to go beyond these texts and into the next phase, because all of them are saying the exact same thing, which is that you live in a living universe that sustains you and supports you, and that you are the ears and the eyes and the voice of God. That you are as much God as the rest of it is, and that you are as important as everything else. And the idea that people should be at odds with one another and be fighting one another is the idea that God should fight itself. It's a silly idea. It's a silly thought. And that we're so limited in our perspective and our perception of our own existence that we genuinely think that, like, we're supposed to accumulate all of this power and wealth for nothing. For nothing. Like, what's the point of having an Elon Musk or a Bill Gates? What's the point? Does it achieve anything? Is it good for anybody? Does it make anything work? No. We've just erected another Tower of Babel, and the result will be the same. Long Defiant writes, we're definitely heading into the multipolar traditionalism, yet people are searching for meaning, and the ruling class will sell it to them. Yeah, I do think there's going to be, like, I don't know that I want to use the word regression, but just, like, there is going to be a return. What was the one thing I saw? Did I not keep it? Hold on. I need to get into the Discord for this, because I definitely put it in the Discord. Yeah. Here's China's gold stock level, 2009 to 2025. So there is going to be a return to the gold standard. The that the American dollar is going to collapse, or at least it's going to recede so badly that it won't be used as a world currency any longer. And I think that there's a similar thing happening. Like, you listen to the ruling class of China, and they talk a lot about Confucianism, and they talk a lot about the 4,000-year-old civilization of China, right? Like, there is this appeal to traditionalism and the traditional philosophies and ruling ideologies of the nation. And sure, Xi Jinping has also said that we should pay attention to Marxist-Leninism, but it's likely that anybody that does pay attention to that Marxist-Leninist idea is also going to pay attention to Confucianism and is also going to pay attention to the history of China. And I think that's pretty common, right? Like when I'll use Iran as an example. I recently had a conversation with somebody who immigrated from Iran fairly recently, which is, if your country is being destabilized, right? Like if you're experiencing a moment of real destabilization, like people are coming in and trying to overthrow your leadership and kill your people, like destabilization, then the people who you want to have in power are the people who are most willing to protect your culture with guns. So, militant theocrats. That's the people you want in power during these periods of time. Like, as shitty as it is, and as regressive as they'll be, and as backwards as many of their social policies are, they are going to shoot people who try to take your culture from you. You want that. Especially if it's like an American military coming in to bomb you and murder your children with death squads. Like, that's what you want. And I feel like we are in this multipolar, destabilized moment. And so people are turning in that direction. I'll say it over and over and over again, right? To try to make sense of how people think in the world. People are willing to accept unjust systems if those systems are stable, right? Like, people accepted slavery for a long time because it was stable. And when did it actually get overthrown? When it was destabilized, and when it was destabilizing. Bound writes, what's that, 40 tons of gold? That's a drop in the bucket. U.S. reported reserves are over 8,000 tons. That's $5.5 billion worth of gold at current value. Yeah, but I think it's the dramatic uptick that is of note. That we should expect that line to only continue going up. Right? Because it's just like... it's of note. I think people expect the American economy to recede, and like Russia has already returned to the gold standard. Right? So it's likely that other nations will follow suit, and that the gold standard will become the new standard, or the new old standard. But your observation is correct. Like, it's not going to be like China's not. It's not like a checkmate America, and then America goes no, and then blows up or something. Elon probably has that in a Scrooge McDuck vault he swims in. Yeah. What a weirdo that guy is. Cotton writes, okay, so like, I don't have dread for no reason. Yeah, we've all seen the news, my man. You see, I think it'll be the material sudden impact, literally the sudden drop impact that can happen by the end of the month or even year. December is likely going to be entirely fucked up. Yeah, like, what will destroy... The moment that capitalism will be destroyed will be Christmas. I've said that before. And will it be this time? Who knows? But all it's going to take to destroy capitalism is 1 year where the capitalists are in the red after Christmas. Because that's always the ploy, right? Like, I have worked for so many businesses, and I know people who run small businesses, and they run in the red all year. And it isn't until Christmas that they hit the black. And so and businesses fold if they have bad Christmases, right? And so all it's going to take is one bad Christmas where suddenly the contradictions within capitalism rear, and it turns out that, oh, people can't actually buy these goods, right? You made all these goods, nobody can buy them because you refuse to pay wages. And all it's going to take is one bad Christmas and the whole thing comes apart. And so, will that be this year? Who's to say? But it's going to be within our lifetimes. Like, I'm definitely going to see that happen. XD writes, I have concerns with this return to Confucianism. Yeah, of course. Like, it's very patriarchal and it's very, like, top-down. No, Confucianism is not a perfect system. I think the existence of Confucianism as a ruling system or ruling political ideology really indicates the level of chaos that existed in China when it came in. That the Confucianist structure looks to me to be nothing short of utterly desperate. Anytime I take a look at what the structure of Confucianism is, I'm just like, oh, this is desperation. This is literally a Hail Mary, we gotta get control of shit. Baldy McNose says, especially my generation, Gen Z, are converting more towards Islam. I tend to think that has more to do with, like, the modern Christians are insane. Christianity has gone insane. There's no... like, these people are frauds. Like, the Christians are frauds. They don't read their book. They are losers. Just enormous losers who don't care about their Christ, don't care about their Bible, they don't care about their God, they care about money and power for themselves and nothing else. They're a bunch of losers who use the Bible as a tool to justify their bigotries, their hatreds, and their domination of other peoples. That's who they are. Whereas, like, the Muslim population, I think, comes at it from a more humble perspective and has a more, like, what's the purpose of religious texts? Let's have a conversation about that kind of attitude. And I do think that there is a great deal of rejection of Christianity happening because it's completely discredited itself. Like, it's, I'm seeing, like, Christian nationalists going around defending slavery, you know? So it's not a surprise at all to hear that Christianity is in decline. The people that own the rights to Christianity, or the people who profess to be Christians, are the worst people in the society by a lot. Like, it's not close. Like, these people suck. JT writes, I think I heard Russia has a big helping too. Yeah, between Russia and China, I think a third nation, they have more than the U.S. now. Yeah. I just think the existence of it is what's interesting. I don't know if it's more or less or any of that kind of stuff. It is emblematic of, it's a sign of the times, right? That clearly Russia and China and Africa and, like, Latin America are beginning to create alliances with one another and create working groups with one another that exclude the United States. The BRICS organization is the big one, right? And America's going to feel it. Like, it's going to feel it. Ong says, I'm going to seriously attempt to get those I know to boycott the holidays this year. Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to destroy capitalism, the way to do it is through Christmas. Not simply through boycotts, but also through wasting time. Time wasting is to me the number one way to do it. That if you got yourself and, like, 10 friends, not a lot, like, so the people who are on my live stream right now, If we all got together and just sort of clogged Walmart's call centers or Amazon's call centers, like if we just wasted everybody's time, right, you could make them lose a lot of money. Like that, to me, if you're serious about taking it down, that would be the way to do it. JT says, what if Christmas didn't come this year and no one showed up and no Christmas cheer? Who would cry the biggest tear, the child or the store? Yeah, Cotton, right? The Texas Fair basically flopped, dramatically so. Yeah, nobody's got any money. Like 70% of the populace is working paycheck to paycheck. That means they don't have any money. They don't have the money to spend. They're not going out and spending a bunch of money. Right? Like this is what makes these people so stupid. Their whole system relies on people having money to spend, and they're stripping it of them and saying that this is the only way to do it while they have $1 billion. Like, it's ridiculous. Long Defiant says, Confucianism is highly hierarchical, yeah, and has never really worked for those on the bottom. It's a mind job, same as Christianity, Islam, or Hinduism. But I have to recognize it as a rising world force. Yeah. I mean, again, I'll say what I said about it before because I think it's accurate. I just think it's completely desperate. It's total desperation. It's like we have to do something. Like we need to somehow order things, and this should do. It just seems to me to be an act of total desperation. JT says, it'll show stability on the world stage. Some have posited that the Grinch is truly the victim and justified to steal Christmas when the upper class marginalized him and celebrated in his face while he suffers heart disease. It's time to go Grinch. Baldy McNosehair says, unfortunately, Islam is not the most progressive religion, yeah, because there's stuff in the Quran that I agree with. It is unreasonable to believe that a country or a religious group will be in the most progressive mindset while you bomb them. That's become sort of my position on it. That people like Sam Harris, for example, I think are the deepest frauds in the society because we are actively bombing Islam. We are actively destroying Islam. We don't have the right to criticize Islam. We just don't have the right. No Westerner, especially a white Westerner, has the right to be like, I don't know about this Quran. I don't know about Islam. Bomb, 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 bomb. Like, we're literally committing a genocide over there right now. Like, we're literally encaging a group of Muslims and slowly starving them to death. We're literally doing that. So, like, anybody wants to stand in front of me and say, I have an opinion about Islam, I just don't care. Like, I don't care what you have to say. Jenny over on Twitch, good to see you. The whole world moving towards an anti-dollar agenda. Yeah, I mean, the dollar has been very problematic for everybody. Bound writes, growing up, my parents didn't have much money. Christmas was about gifts. Wasn't about gifts. We spent time with extended family and exchanged small gifts. I remember one year where a pair of boxing gloves was my big present. It might cost $20. I thought it was a great present. My little brother, not so much. Oh, Christmas time. What a heartwarming period. Jenny writes, the West needs a semi-California system pushed towards the Silicon Valley pro-AI and pro-science agenda. A techno state is what we want. Yeah, you might change your tune once the AI bubble pops. Dude, when the AI bubble pops, it's just going to be dramatic. It's going to be like, just like a... It's going to reverberate big time. They can't figure out how to make money with AI. They can't figure it out. John, good to see you. Fiddleford, I have the worst news imaginable. Uh-oh. Eggs D writes, Confucianism is so deeply entrenched in Chinese society, top down. I got a face full of it for my family when I was there. Yeah, I believe it. It's interesting that Confucianism is seeing this sort of resurgence, but I mean, it is predictable. Like, Confucianism has been around for a long time, like much longer than Marxism and communism and these sorts of ideas. So it'll be interesting to see what effects it has on the society. I do tend, like, Chinese society is fairly conservative, right? Like, we want to believe that the Marxist Leninist view and the communist sort of view that exists within China is a progressive force socially. But I mean, China struggles just like everywhere else with social issues, and a resurgence of Confucianism is going to sort of bring back a more conservative worldview. And I mean, the fact that America has gone socially so far to the left and then collapsed, I mean, is evidence for people to be like, maybe we shouldn't do that. It's my biggest critique of the LGBTQ community is that they refuse to adopt an anti-empire agenda. And while their goals are good, right? Gay rights, trans rights, right? Rights for queer folk, like basic recognition of basic rights, these sorts of things are good. Because they refuse to adopt an anti-empire and an anti-expansionist agenda, a lot of that LGBTQ stuff was co-opted by the empire and then projected into the world, and oftentimes used to justify expansionism, right? Like, oh, the caliphate of Jordan said that gay people are bad. He deserves to be overthrown and his people subjugated. And there are people who go along with that. And so the end result of it is that the people you subjugate with this idea end up saying, maybe it isn't okay to be gay. It's perfectly logical. So so moving forward, I think the LGBTQ community should take an explicitly anti-empire and anti-expansionist attitude, and really say, like, and if somebody tries to say to them, hey, this guy in this country said this gay thing, we should invade them, you should say, fuck off. Stop co-opting my sexuality for your war agenda, which is exactly what they're doing. Fiddleford writes, the walleye and pike have gone into deeper, warmer waters. I can no longer catch them easily from shore. Life's tough, Fiddleford. Life's tough. You might have to actually get a boat, my man. Oof. JT writes, how can we create the biggest bubble ever? Digital Realm helped accelerate that. Yeah, it'll, like, when the bubble pops, man. Like, when the bubble pops, I'm super looking forward to it. Because it's gonna be, like, insane. Like, people are gonna lose their minds about it. It's gonna be hilarious. And most of us won't notice, really. Like, we'll notice in terms of, like, some of the gizmos and gadgets that we've been using that have, like, AI in them will suddenly stop working so well, or things will change in some way. But in regards to, like, you being able to pay for your food, nothing's going to change. It's just going to be a bunch of, like, tech bros being like, no, which I'm super looking forward to. Ongnoing says, what's this in reference to, my man? I don't think it was by accident. COINTELOPS just did their work. JT says, at least we will get to watch The Big Short 2 starring Mark Ruffalo. Yeah, that's what I've been looking for the whole time, right? The whole time. Ong says, oh yes, the LGBTQ movement being stifled, yeah. Yeah, I mean, somebody's gonna have to do like a big unpacking. Like I'm dead certain that what has happened in the society in regards to trans people is absolutely a psyop. It's absolutely like a CIA thing where they're just like, let's have everybody talking about trans people. Trans people, trans people, trans people. Everything's trans. This is trans. You're trans. Have a comedian talk about trans people. They're just trans people all the way down. So that people get like hyper fixated on this issue that is not really that important to anybody. You know? That's going to be like, I'm sure that some trans person at some point is going to do like a big, long, deep dive from the period of like 2015, like when Disney started to do it, when Disney started to like do their remakes, when Disney started to do their remakes and started to put like a gay character in or like a trans person in to their stuff. And then like Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle's like 3 comedy specials where he went on this like trans thing, and J.K. Rowling with her anti-trans stuff, and Caitlyn Jenner. Right, you have this whole like trans moment that happens in the society where, and like the outcropping of it is trans people in sports. That seems to be the thing that really gets people's ire up, because it happened one time to someone. And it's just like this, like, it's a phobia, right? It's like definitionally a phobia. Like, I often say that we're in a hysteria. Well, what's more hysterical than reacting to a phobia? Right? It's like if you had arachnophobia and a spider showed up, you'd lose your shit and your whole life would become about dealing with that spider. Well, if you're a transphobe and you hear about the existence of a trans person, then your whole life becomes about dealing with this trans person that you've never met and you don't know anything about. And so it's just like and because it's taken so much of the political imagination, like, people vote for this shit. People vote on these principles. Like, which is embarrassing as shit. I just wouldn't be surprised at all to find out that it's like, yeah, the CIA and the FBI, we like ramped this up on purpose to have people hyper focus on this issue so they wouldn't be paying attention to our crimes that we actively do. Bound writes, I work for the feds as a contractor. U.S. federal government is all in on AI, yet they won't let it fail. I helped the Social Security Administration build their own AI. I shifted recently from NASA to SSA. My defense contractor daddy kept whoring me out for more and more money. I mean, you're not wrong about that. There is like the merger of the business and the state, right? Like fascism. But the bubble pops. Like, I think the big thing is that AI doesn't actually do the job it's meant to do. That, to me, is the biggest thing. AI is useful to a degree. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that AI is, like, useful for data compilation. But one of the most damning things I've seen, I really should spend some time and find this article again. I saw this article. It came out of Harvard or Oxford or one of these organizations. And they basically just did a breakdown of AI, and they just concluded that AI can't solve problems. Like, it literally cannot solve problems. That it can compile information and, like, sort of make it, present it to you in a way. Yeah, good for robot soccer. Yeah, to me, the height of AI as it stands right now is going to be as like a assist tool. I think an AI assist tool is probably the most likely outcome. Dave, good to see you. Oh, a wizard is never late. He arrives precisely when he means to, Dave. I hope you're well out there. No, but to me, I think the big thing with AI is, like, they can't make it profitable. There's no profit market for this, and sure, the government can try to prop it up for a little while, but the American dollar is already free fall collapsing. Like, we haven't shorn up our fundamentals. Like, there are fundamentals to what makes a civilization work, and we have abandoned our fundamental principles. You can't just funnel money into a robotic system forever and expect that to work while you abandon your fundamentals. I didn't post it on Discord. I'll just find it again, XD. Thanks for the advice, though. Like, Bound, you're talking to a guy who thinks the whole system's coming down. Like, the whole system's coming down, and it's going to come down, like, it'll be like moments of tension, moments of build-up, and then just like a fervor. Like a 2 to 3 year, just like absolute frantic fervor. You think about like World War I or World War II, right? It was exactly that story. You had these like build up and this tension and this tension and this tension, and then World War II is like a fervor. It's fanaticism. Imagine being alive during World War II. Like, what a crazy, insane moment that capitalism inflicted on everybody. And they'll do it again, right? Like, that's what's got everybody all worked up. Like, that's why the Chinese act the way they do. That's why the Russians act the way they do. It's why everybody acts the way they do. Is because everybody knows the Americans are gearing up for another world war. Because it's the only answer they have left. They don't have any solutions. They don't have any ideas. Right? So their solution is just consolidation, build up, and then take all of, like, run a draft, throw them at the Chinese. Like, we're going down that path. And once you start getting into that period of time, that's where revolution comes from. Right? Like, the Russian Revolution happens largely because of the abandonment of just the fundamentals of how to have a society run properly. Like, you can't just abandon huge sections of your populace and grab your young men and throw them into a failed war and expect them to just be like, oh yeah, that's just what the king wanted. It's not gonna be a real thing, right? And like, more and more, I think people are beginning to see that, like, well, this AI stuff, like, it's a neat little toy. Like, it's a neat little toy. It's a little toy box, right? And cool, and it's nice to imagine. But it's not, is it putting food on your table? Is it making your life easier? Really? Like, it means that when you interact with your little toy box, it's like a fun little bauble. So it's like having like Contexto or something. It's like having some little video game on your phone, basically, right? And you can interact with it and ask it questions. And oh wow, it even sounds like a human sometimes. Oh, here's all the different voice skins that you can put onto it. It's a video game. Like, it's just like a little toy. For most people, the idea that this is the thing that's going to become the next generation of so on and blah de blah, like, yeah, it'll probably be around, but for most people it'll just be like a little toy box, and everybody will still be going, hey, how come I can't get any food? Like, where's the food? And then they'll look over at the AI data center that's sucking all the water out of their country, and they'll be like, and then they'll look at their energy bill and be like, why am I paying for this? This little toy box. Bound says, yeah, I work in AI, so yeah, it's putting food on my table. Yeah. But most of the user base doesn't. Right? Most of the user base is just looking at this thing. And, like, don't get me wrong, it's a novelty. And that can go a long way. Like, don't get me wrong, right? Humans, we are... there was a philosopher by the name of Terence McKenna. He was a big mushroom guy. And he posited that the arc of the universe is that everything gets more and more novel through time. That's the true arc of the universe, that it's not about good or bad or justice or truth or any of that. It's about novelty.
and that he predicted that things will get more and more novel over time. And I think a part of that is that humans are so entranced by things that are new or novel, right? And AI is exactly that. We're just entranced by it because it's a novel idea, and we can get caught up in our own imagination about things. Humans have this capacity where we can look at something and not see the thing for what it is, but see the potential of the thing, right? Or mistake our imagined wish or our imagined desire for what that thing should be for its potential, as opposed to looking at it and saying, this is what it is, this is what it can do, this is what it will do. And I think the clearest example that's happened that illustrates this is Elon Musk's promises to get to Mars, right? Elon Musk's promises to get to Mars completely hijacked our desire for novelty and our desire to expand and to get to Mars, and oh wow, we're getting to Mars and a colony on Mars, and oh my god, we'll be a spacefaring intergalactic people, and the future and Star Trek and the world is out there. And because everybody was so entranced by this big promise and these big ideas and this big, the future and the vision, and oh my goodness, nobody was actually going okay, yeah, but can he? Does he have the thing? Here are the steps that we would need to see. Do we have them? No. He just keeps pushing it back and keeps pushing it back and keeps pushing it back. Oh, I wonder why. JT writes, the real use of AI will be them lying. Yeah, using an AI to quote-unquote detect wrongdoing. The AI doesn't even need to be on. The people just need to accept AI existing. Yeah, in many ways AI will turn into a little god or an oracle that people will ask the AI things, and no matter what it says, that will just be taken as gospel truth. And nobody will ask it for sources. Nobody will ask it for the information. Where does the information come from? And then any countervailing information or any information that would disprove what the AI has to say, the AI just won't be programmed with it. It just won't even have it, right? So as far as it's concerned, it is telling the truth. Fiddleford writes, they're opening a data center in my town. Yeah, well, say bye-bye to your water supply. Dave writes, you're right, most nations are preparing for something. Now Trump realizes it's more complicated to try to stop the war in Ukraine. I don't think he was ever genuine about that. It pays to remember that Donald Trump is a kleptomaniac level liar. What's that called? Kleptomania is stealing. He's just a fraudulent liar. He'll lie about anything. And the putting an end to the war in Ukraine, there's no pathological liar. Thank you, Agnoing. The reality about it is that the chance to the moment that war should have ended in a rational world, I mean, the war should have never started in a rational world, but it was when Boris Johnson visited Ukraine that Zelensky was willing to go to the negotiating table and was willing to talk about ending that war, but Boris Johnson showed up. And I mean, I think they threatened his family and threatened him pretty openly. Zelensky is in such a terrible position. He has no exit strategy, and so his only strategy is just to kind of keep seeing it through, right, and to keep doing it. And to keep managing it. But he really is just he's just the face of the operation. Nobody cares about Zelensky. If you're in the Azov brigade, you don't give a fuck about what Zelensky has to say. And so the time has kind of passed to be able to negotiate your way out of it. And it looks now that Russia has finally kind of bit the bullet and has accepted that the only way this conflict is ever going to end is if we end it. And the only way to end the conflict for Russia is to go into the major urban centers and seize control of them and have trials and shit. Like, Russia's going to have to seize Ukraine. And I think it understands that now. I think it's put together that it's got to actually go into Ukraine and has actually got to seize Ukraine. And this whole wish and this hope that we'll just seize the Donbass territory and then negotiate out from that position. Certainly the Ukrainians will see reason at some point. Nope. So it's I think what we'll see is an occupation of Ukraine by Russia, and that'll just be it. There'll be no renegotiation backwards. Just Russia will have Ukraine, and that will be the story. Because I think that Russia's finally just come to the point where they see that that's the only path forward for them. That the forces that they're negotiating with are bad faith actors. They're not willing to negotiate. They're not willing to actually be reasonable. And I think that as the decades go on, and as Ukraine gets brought up in the West, the Russians will constantly say, like, we tried to negotiate out of this, like, so many times. Like, we tried to do the Minsk Accords. We tried to negotiate for the Donbass region. We tried to negotiate for the Kursk region. We're trying to negotiate the entire time, and you're just saying no, 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 no. So finally it's just like, fuck it, then we'll just take it. And we'll just take it, and we'll do what we should have done with the capitalists in the first place, which is not negotiate. Like, what have I been saying about how to deal with capitalists? Stop negotiating with these people. Do not negotiate with capitalists. They are psychopaths. And Russia's finally putting it together. And I mean, that's how the nations of the world are going to have to act towards America and the West generally, moving forward. It's just, you can't negotiate with these people. You can't negotiate with the West. Because the West, like, white Westerners think that they are like God's chosen people. That they walk into a room and they say, do this, do this, do this, and walk out and expect you to do it. Like, you can't negotiate with that. You just have to cut them out. And let them collapse, let them have their moments of humility, let them come back around, and finally, once they're ready to step back into the world stage in a manner that's a little bit more appropriate, then you can start taking them seriously. But I think we'll see some pretty major military conflicts before that occurs. John H. says, love how you reference Terence McKenna like that. Well, Terence McKenna is an interesting voice. Like, you don't get a lot of guys like Terence McKenna, right? I don't actually agree with his theory. One of his core theories is the stoned ape theory. He posited that human consciousness develops because apes begin eating psychedelic drugs. And that this is what spawns the spark of creativity and separates us from the animals, and we have this kind of larger capacity for things, and so on and so forth, and yabba yabba yabba. And like, I don't think so. I think that we've seen other animals enjoying psychedelics. Sorry guys, my nose is just super itchy. Hold on. We've seen other animals enjoying things like psychedelics and doing that kind of stuff, right? I also think his theory diminishes the capability and intelligence of other animals in the world. That to me, the real thing that separated humanity from the other species was our articulator, was our mouth, our ability to articulate abstract thoughts and to make many different vocalizations, and then also our graspers. So we can write, right? We can write, we can speak, and then we can also think in the abstract. And you'll see, if you look at other creatures in the world, you'll see that they have maybe two of those three things, right? that they can think in the abstract, they have a grasper, but their articulators are not that good. You think about like an ape living in the middle of a jungle. If he knew calculus, how would he tell anyone? Right? And so humanity was just like the first group of animals to put all of these things together to be able to develop in a direction, right? To be able to develop writing, language, abstract philosophy, right? These sorts of things. And it's through this development of that. And the reason, and I'm of the opinion that any creature could do this, right? That any animal species, if they began to develop down that way, would also do it, right? We just have like hundreds of thousands of years of development where we've done it, and that the universe is more than capable of just sending octopi down that route, elephants down that route, right? That if all of a sudden elephants could articulate to one another an understanding of abstract concepts, you'd have like elephant philosophy and all of this. So Terence wasn't a big capitalist, but he wasn't an anti-capitalist. He didn't really make a big statement about capitalism generally. In fact, I think that if I were to describe Terence McKenna's political position, he would be a liberal. Yeah, Long Defiant. That's what they're doing on Twitter. Anytime it wants to make a point, they just ask Grok. Yeah. Dave writes, that's true. I heard about what Boris Johnson did. It's funny because at the beginning I thought it wasn't true, but the story was real. Yeah. Like, I mean, Zelensky is operating in Ukraine with a rifle in his back. Like, if it's not Azov's rifle, it's NATO's rifle. Like, and I just don't know why anybody actually thinks he's in charge. JT writes, Terence was actually one of the first philosophers I listened to as a teen getting into mushrooms. Yeah, it made me think. Yeah, and that's what I like about Terence McKenna, is that, like, I think that he had some interesting things to say, and I don't mind listening to guys I disagree with if they're interesting, you know, and genuine and well-intentioned, which I think Terence McKenna is and was. And I think that his experience with mushrooms and with psychedelics generally is well meant, and you know, there's truth there. It's an interesting experience, and I think he was approaching it in the right way. And so so it doesn't matter if I disagree with him. I don't think he was trying to hurt anybody. That separates him from somebody like Jordan Peterson, for example, who I think is actively trying to hurt people. Generation Y Me sounds like a great excuse for smoking weed. You don't need an excuse to smoke weed, my man. JT writes, and learning about pot and the way drugs have been criminalized helped me become anti-cop, come to think about it. Yeah, I mean, imagine criminalizing drugs. Like, it's so obviously done to race bait. Like, it's so obviously done so the police can just arrest somebody and be like, oh, you've got drugs on you. It's like, yeah, everybody has drugs on them, dude. Like, John H. says, yeah, I'm with you. Found tons of hours in entertainment from him once I found his old videos posted to YouTube. Don't agree with everything he said. Yeah, of course. No, dude, there's this guy that I'll listen to on TikTok. What's his name? The fellow's name is here's the whole shtick. The guy's name is Daryl, and he's quote-unquote channeling an alien that he talks to by the name of Bahar, I think is his name. Right? And it's so wacky and it's so crazy, but some of the stuff that the guy says in regards to, like, this spiritual dealing with reality, I'm like, that is actually accurate. Like, that's actually good. And he articulates it with such clarity that I'm like, that's correct. Like, what he's saying is he's nailing it. Like, and then all of a sudden he's talking about how this alien species is coming to Earth in 2 years and all this, and I'm like, oh man. But I don't think the guy's trying to hurt anybody. You know, I don't think he's trying to cause any problems for anybody. If anything, he's trying to help people see that your place in reality makes a lot of sense, actually. Like, things seem chaotic, but there's a lot of, like, you just kind of Jesus take the wheel it and just, like, let it go and just live your life and hope that universal forces are actually conspiring in the favor of humanity, as opposed to and that part of the journey of humanity is humans getting lost in their own crapulence and then eating it. And that seems to be part of the journey of humanity, that, like, humans get caught up in their own institutions, their own ideas, their own thoughts, and then the universe makes them eat it. Because if you're not in step with what the universe is doing, then you're just going to eat it. And I mean, we're going to eat it, guys. Like, the big one that's coming for sure is climate change. We're going to eat it so bad on the climate change front. Like, all of the wars and all of the, like, economic collapse and all that kind of stuff, like the famines, the plagues that are coming, it's going to be nothing compared to what we're dealing with climate change, man. Like, that's going to be... And it's just the universe just being like, oh, you thought that was a good idea, did you? Oh, you thought that you could just mess with the natural balance of the world and that would be fine? No. So it's like not even like we're not even like in trouble. We're toast. We're cooked. Dave writes, it's funny because the media doesn't talk about the early aspect of the conflict with Ukraine and Russia, especially about with Boris Johnson. Yeah, of course not. No, and eventually they'll just forget about that war. Eventually the war will be completely forgotten and they won't discuss it anymore. It'll be like the war in Yugoslavia and Kosovo. We'll just be like, oh yeah, that happened. And, like, the people who are from there will know things about it. But, like, nobody will remember the Donbass War. Like, nobody knows about the Donbass War in the first place. Nobody knows the history of the lead up to that war. Literally everyone is just like, Putin bad. Putin knew Hitler. That's it. That's as far as people are going to go. JT writes, we find metacognition and wild abilities in animals, but humans for sure have more ability to store lots of info, and yeah, the ability to communicate that complex info. Yeah. To me, the three skills that aren't unique to humanity, but the combination of them it's this 3-skill thing. We have these graspers, we have this articulator, and we can enter abstraction. Those 3 skills combined are what have elevated humanity to this sort of next level of creative power in this realm of reality. But you could see other creatures that, like, could have a go at it, right? The elephants have a type of grasper. They are just as intelligent as we are, near as I can tell. It's just they don't really have this language component, right? Which is something that can develop over time. And language, I think, is a key component because language does require, like, development, right? Like, it takes a while for a species to get within abstraction enough within their language to be able to organize themselves on like with certain ideas and certain principles and certain, like, you can't create complex societies without discussing law, right? Like, once you get into the moral reality of what is right or what is wrong, and having these conversations and then writing them down, right? Like, creating legal structure is what gets you into the next level of complex society. And if you don't have that, like if you're just a bunch of pigs grunting, then yeah, it's just whoever's the biggest, and everybody kind of just deals with that. JT writes, Zelensky certainly didn't expect any of this when he went from TV comedian to figurehead. Yeah, I mean, it pays to remember that Zelensky was an anti-war candidate. Zelensky won his election saying he was going to end the Donbass war. And to his credit, he tried. There are pictures of him going down to the front line in the Donbass war and telling the Azov battalion to leave. And they told him to fuck off. Because at the end of the day, they don't work for him. They work for NATO. And and so I think it was at that moment that Zelensky was like, oh, fuck, like, I won this election and here I am, but, like, I don't really have any power. Like, if they don't do what I say, what am I supposed to do? And then for a little while, I think Zelensky thought, well, I am still the president, right? I can still negotiate with Putin, and I can still, like, have conversations with world leaders and all this kind of stuff. And then Boris Johnson shows up. And Boris Johnson's just like, Pat, look, my man, this is what's actually going to happen, right? We're going to keep this war going. We're going to keep funneling money into your Azov battalion Nazis over there. They're going to keep fighting the Russians. And if you try to stop us, we'll put a bullet in your head. And so I think Zelensky finally got to a place where he's like, oh, so my role in this is essentially to be an arms dealer, is essentially to go around the world asking for golden weapons for these Nazis to fight against the Russians. And as long as I keep doing that, I don't die. Oh. And so if I'm Zelensky at this point, like, what's my exit strategy? What am I trying to do? How am I getting out of this alive? You know? And he's doing what they'll all do, which is skim money off the top. And then eventually, if shit goes bad, he probably does have an exit strategy. He probably does have a plan. He probably plans to flee somewhere. Probably Argentina. Unknowing says, before I forget, what's this I hear of Canada canceling their public postage system in rural areas? Yep. So the narrative is, I mean, it's the classic grift, right? Defund systems and then privatize. It's the classic one. The Canada Post one is happening because Canada Post was set up to be a business. That the argument was it'll pay for itself. And because of competition from Amazon, FedEx, UPS, all of these organizations, combined with a general defunding, right, it's no longer profitable. Like, it can't actually make its payments. And so it needs to be bailed out. And so politicians are able to pitch to the public, oh, Canada Post's not making any money anymore. We better get rid of it. Turn to the private market. And because most Canadians are dullards and don't actually understand the basics of what their economy is like, they go, oh, that's a good idea. We should let Jeff Bezos be the king of mail. As if that's going to have positive outcomes for them. And so if you're living in rural Canada, it's just going to, your costs are going to go up for mail. That's what it is. Content writes, I don't know what it is, but there's folks out there that are like esoteric socialist weirdos. and I don't mean Tate, but these people really think the Matrix is a thing. They basically describe the contradictions of late-stage capitalism and imperialism, but they think it's a matter of magic and supernatural transcendence. Yeah. Like, yeah, if I was to be fair, I think this is people who are finding the language to describe in their own way what communists have known scientifically. I also think that there is a tendency, like, humans are made of reason, like science and religion is part of the human experience, and the logos and the eros, as the Greek philosophers called it, right? That we have logic, but we also have emotion. And those two things are different and distinct and equally valid. That's something that's not really well understood in our society. That there's this denigration of religious or emotional thought, and that if it's coming from a place of religious thought or emotional thought, that it has that it's considered invalid somehow. That it's less valid. Whereas the ancient Greek philosophers understood, like, no, it has to have emotional resonance too. But these two things are sort of distinct and separate from one another, and we don't have, here in the West, we really, really don't like talking about emotions, our emotional selves, emotional resonance. We really, really don't talk about it and do everything we can to avoid it. Like, I think one of the best statements of emotions that has come out of the West is literally the Pixar movie Inside Out. So that's where we're at. And so people who are trying to discover what's going on to them, because it's not being presented to them, right? They're trying to just figure it out. They blend it. It's all blended together. There's the logic and the emotional, right? And the emotional is just as real to them as the logic is. And that's how you get people. And I've seen this my whole life. That's how you get, like, good, intelligent, smart people who are like lawyers and doctors and judges and engineers, who will talk to you about the nuts and bolts of everything and then just seamlessly shift over to Jesus Christ is coming back and I'm looking forward to the rapture. Because to them that's the same. It's all the same reality, right? But there's that they seamlessly move from material truth to emotional truth. And there's no distinction to be made there. And as long as you are willing to go along with the language and understand what's happening, then you can move along with it. I know plenty of people who are like this, who, like, you're having a conversation about just, like, Slurpees, and then suddenly they're telling you a story from the Bible. And you're like, okay. And as long as you understand that what they're trying to do is tell you something about their emotional existence and their emotional self, then you can go along with it. And have a fine time with them. Beza Belinsky over on Twitch, first time chatter. Carney, the helper of the economy, LOL. Yeah, good, strong first comment. Hello, Carney of the Gordon Gekko School of Economics. 40 years of monetarist failure and unprecedented economic control. Yeah. Carney, yesterday's man, like the West crumbling petrodollar empire. He should be buried with it. I mean, to me, Mark Carney reveals that this modern worldview of capitalism is a religion. And that Carney might as well just be like an archdiocese or an archbishop of a religion. That if we were actually looking at capitalism for what it is, with a material analysis, we would be Marxists, right? And I mean, I don't think it's an analogy. Like, I think that it is a religion, and that money is a god. Like, I think the trifecta, like the unholy trinity of the capitalist death cult, is that money is God, You're supposed to worship yourself as measured exclusively by money, and you're supposed to operate within a system of chaos, a free market system. So they are selfish, chaotic death knights who worship money, right? And if you have the most money, you're just an inherently good person, and everything you say has to be listened to. Yeah, Friedman and the monetarists just removed social value from the capital model. I mean, their theory really boils down to give money to a small group of people and then they'll reinvest it in the society. That was always the statement. They'll reinvest it back into the society, so it'll create like a profit wheel, like a productive wheel. Of course, there's a flaw to that reasoning, which is if the purpose of investing is to get more money, why invest if you already have all the money, right? So I generally don't go for theories that can be debunked in a single sentence. It's like why libertarianism is a silly idea. Like, you shouldn't believe in an idea that can be debunked with a single game of Monopoly, you know? Like, should probably have a more robust, should probably be able to withstand a heavier critique than a board game made for children. JT says, they're losing us money, is what I heard today. My only answer is, we're going to have results like the U.S., knowing these conservative Canadians are anti-Trump, act like Canada first. Yeah. Like, we can't build the building, we don't have enough inches. Right? Like, that's what's happening. People think money is real. Right? They worship money. That money is God. And all they have to hear, and all they have to say is, money down, money bad, oh, losing money, oh no, as if money is a real thing, as if money is literally like growing on trees or something, that you have to, oh, we got a big crop of money and we planted a money tree and the money tree came up and now we're harvesting the money, we only have so much of it. As if it's not something that you just like type into a computer and create from nothing, which is exactly what it is. Like, we can create literally any system and any institution we want. And we can fund it forever, in perpetuity. We can. And we can do it because we want to. And for no other reason. It doesn't need to be economically justified. How do I know? We have institutions that do exactly that. You can make exactly the same argument for your library if you want. Right? The libraries are losing us money. So what? Money is not real. We literally create it out of nothing. The only reason people think this way is because their relationship to money is perverse. That they're in a position where they have to sell themselves into wage slavery to get access to money. And that's the only relationship they've ever had with money. And so it's the only way they can perceive money. They believe money is a scarce resource, and it isn't. They just live within a perverse power dynamic that withholds it from them in exchange for their labor, and so they assume that the government has to do the same thing. Because they can't possibly say, wait a minute, if the government can just print all of the money it wants and create whatever institution it wants, why am I wasting my life working for these slavers who hate me and who I despise? Oh, now we're asking the real questions. And so they've got to convince you that money is real. But the more they talk, the more it just sounds like, yeah, we can't build that building. We're going to run out of inches. Oh, yeah, sorry guys, we can't build any more houses. We ran out of inches. Sorry. Yeah, we can't. Oh, yeah, I'd love to be able to transport that food to hungry people, but, we just ran out of inches. It sounds just as logical. It's the exact same argument as saying, oh, we can't fund the Canada Post. We ran out of money. You mean you ran out of the measurement tool we use to balance our books in the background? That we literally create and print? It's as if somebody is writing how many inches it takes to, like, how many miles does it take to drive a car in a direction there and back again. They're writing down how many miles. And they're just pretending as though they only have so many miles. And, like, that's it. Like, as long as you have the core resources, as long as you have the material, as long as you can mobilize your labor, you can do anything you want. Oh, but we're going to run out of money. The money is so important. That's the thing that's super important. Oh, but if we run out of money, well, we might have to type it into the computer again. Oh, that'll be bad. Dave writes, at this point, Zelensky cannot go on a big exclusive TV interview on CNN and tell the truth. He was forced to go to war with Russia. Can you imagine that? Yeah, no. That's not a real thing. And I mean, I do tend to think that Zelensky is somewhat bought in. Like, I think that there was like a rough patch for him, but now that he's through it, I think he's kind of bought in. Like, I don't think he writes in a journal like, oh goodness, they've got me, I'm captured, and oh my goodness. Like, I don't think that's how he's thinking about it anymore. Maybe there was a period of time where he was thinking that way, but I think he's probably bought in by now. JT writes, sorry Canadians, our extractive wood industry in Africa isn't supplying the paper bills we need to fund things anymore. No, it's even worse than that. You just type it into a computer screen now. Like, it's just ridiculous. Baza over on Twitch, my latest is how free market capital makes any social capital activity, i.e. manufacturing, a low dividend yield and uneconomic. Social capital activities comprise the yield of high dividend investment. It puts profits, i.e. wages, into workers' pockets. That's why we have huge capital bubbles as capital stacks up for high-end AI tech investment and bloats prices in the sector and starves the markets. Yeah, I mean, look, it all boils down to the West has a theory of economics that is collapsing, or has already collapsed, actually, but that we're just trying to keep it alive. And to me, the hallmark of this new era is that there's an economic confrontation happening on the world stage. And it's an economic confrontation between two opposing economic theories. And I'm saying this to be nice. Like, this is the nice way to talk about this. That the economic theory of the West, this would be like the Milton Friedman and all these guys. The economic theory of the West is that economic power flows from financial power. That if you can control financial markets, if you can control currencies, if you can control money, right, then you have power on the world stage and in the nation. Mobilizing financial power is the highest good. The profit motive, right? Like, they'll tell you all about it. There is an opposing theory to this, and you can see it in operation in a place like China, which is that economic power flows from who controls the means of production, who controls the ability to create things, who controls manufacturing. Whoever controls those things, that's real power. That you can have your financial markets, and financial markets can be disruptive. That's why the Chinese government owns the banks, right? Because they understand that financial markets can be disruptive. But true power comes out of the means of production. That it's much easier to erect a bank than it is to erect a factory. Content writes, U.S. military just murdered people in the Pacific now. Yeah, they've been doing that for a while. There's nothing new there. Like, the new era of politics in America, they're going to recede from the Middle East. They're going to draw back, right? Eventually, there will be an abandonment of Israel. Like, that's likely going to happen. And there's going to be this receding back to their own hemisphere, and you're going to see the American military force basically just focus on Latin America, I think. Like, they're pivoting in that direction, and there's sort of a big conversation about what's to be done about China. And I think that more or less the attitude on all parties is that there's not much we can do about China. That China is going to exist and is going to do what China is doing. And as long as China stays kind of chill, there's nothing we can really do about it. And so we might as well take our military power and go pick on somebody who, like, the Americans are not interested in fighting a war against a peer or somebody who's actually going to put up a fight. They're bullies. They're going to go pick on people who don't have, like, proper standing militaries and shit. But that's getting to be less and less groups in the world, right? That it's getting to be harder and harder to find a target that doesn't have, like, a really strong military. JT writes, I hope that South America can contend with them at this point. Yeah, honestly, I think that Venezuela by itself, because I think the Venezuelans are well aware of what the American game is, a big reason why America was so successful and a big reason why the CIA was so successful is there was this attitude or veneer amongst the public, not just the Americans, but across the world, that, well, the CIA would never, like, the CIA would never do that. The Americans would never do that. That was the attitude, right? That there's this attitude of, like, what are you talking about? The CIA did a coup, right? Up until very recently, like we're talking 2010, 2015, I would be telling people, yeah, the CIA did these coups, like, they did this. Here's their confession on their website. And people still have this attitude of disbelief. Of just like, the CIA, what are you talking about? Like, you literally can convince them the CIA did something in one country, and then you'd move to another country and be like, well, the CIA, and then immediately it would be the same thing. You're like, what are you talking about? Right? Whereas now we're finally entering a period of time where people are like, an event is happening, and a good amount of people are going, okay, well, how is the CIA involved? Which is how it should be. But because there's this long period of time from, like, literally 1950 to, like, 2010, where people are living in this kind of dead-brained space where this trillion-dollar organization isn't doing anything in their view, where people are, like, not erecting defenses against this. Like, to me, the Chilean coup in 76, was it 76? I know it was September 11th, but it was, like, in the 70s. The Chilean coup is really emblematic of that. Of, like, a ruling class of socialists that came into power in Chile, and they just didn't anticipate or expect that the CIA would coup them. Allende very famously was asking for Pinochet and saying things like, I hope Pinochet's okay. Oh, goodness, what's going on during all of this time? And it just wasn't in his consciousness at all that Pinochet had betrayed him and got allied with the CIA. Like, that, and I think that's all gone now. I think that if you are a leader, especially a leader in Latin America, you're like, okay, you wake up and you go to a briefing, and the briefing is, today is what the CIA did. This is what the CIA is doing. Here's everything they said. The CIA, the CIA, the CIA, the CIA, the CIA. And everybody is like, yes, correct. These are our primary enemies that we must be aware of. Like, so the veil has lifted. People are more aware and more conscious of the existence of this group, and that it is important to pay attention to what they do and think and say. And that by itself has made it difficult for the CIA to operate. Like, the CIA hasn't really had very much success recently. And I think it really is because more organizations are like, oh, hey, here's this new guy coming in here. So what are your ties to the CIA? And just the benefit of the doubt is gone. Nobody buys this bullshit line that, oh, the CIA, what a conspiracy theorist. Go fuck yourself. If somebody told me that they were that I was a conspiracy theorist for talking about the CIA, I would just get rid of them because they're too stupid to talk to. Like, do you know how to tie your shoes? Yeah, but liberals only recognize coups against little nice victims that they can exercise charity for the victim, and only after the fact, right? When it's happening, it's crazy, but it's after 10 years after the case. Yeah, the Ukraine was not a CIA coup because Russia bad. Exactly. Endowment for Democracy dresses CIA coups into color revolutions now. Yeah, the National Endowment for Democracy just does openly what the CIA used to do clandestinely. Like, that's all. And, like, for God's sakes, you take a look at the Venezuela story. Like, go listen to this Maria Corina Machado talk. She's very open about what her intention is. She's very open about it. That the intention is to have the American military come in, depose Maduro, install her as the leader, to privatize all the industries and enslave the Venezuelan people. They're very open about it. It's not a secret. So it just tells you that these people are like ideologically bought in to this idea. Dave writes, you're right, John, but the economic system of the West isn't as strong as it once was, and most people know it by now, for sure. For sure. JT says, it's so comically bold. I award you the keys to the peace nukes. Yeah. Like, it is comical at this point. Like, it is comedic at this point. There is just like a silliness to everything. And to me, like, I've railed on about it already, but it's just like, it is the dead center of the whole thing, which is that people think money is real. Like, that's gotta be... And I know that people don't want to talk about it or don't want to address it, because when you talk about it, people move on. People move on from that conversation. I've really noticed this. I'll bring up, like, hey, money's not real. Like, we invented it. It's not a real thing. And people will just move on. They don't want to talk about it. And it's like you're saying the name Voldemort. It's like you're bringing up, like, the Dark Lord, right? People just want to move on, and they don't want to discuss, like, the inherent reality that the entire system of thought that the West is based on is a fabrication. It's made up. And if it's made up, then we can make it do what we want it to do. And we don't need to ask permission, and we certainly don't need to negotiate with psychopaths in order to do it. But we're all caught up in this idea, this, like, madness, that the thing we invented and print is real. Austin writes, hey, John, a good podcast I've been listening to is Pick Me Up. I'm scared it has a 2-parter on Venezuela. That's really good. Okay, big shout out. No, the history of Venezuela is a fascinating one. Like, the Chavistas are a very powerful socialist movement. We should be paying a lot of attention to the Chavistas, who they are, and what it requires to actually have a socialist movement in a country. Like, the assaults that the Venezuelans, the Chavistas, have undergone are real, right? Dave writes, there's even a movie about a journalist that exposes the CIA about the fact that they were involved in drug trafficking in South America. Yeah, I mean, the drug trafficking is the CIA shtick. Rich people need their coke somehow. Like, if you think the CIA wasn't somehow involved in the Jeffrey Epstein pedophile island, then you're completely fooling yourself. Like, it's just like the coke injection agency, hilarious. It's going to be really, really wild watching the West sort of hit these walls over and over again. You know? Like, the West is just going to come up to crisis after crisis after crisis, and it's going to fail every time. Because the base fundamental theory of the West is wrong. And that's something that nobody wants to contend with. Because that's going to be a real fight. Like, that's going to be a real fight. Is convincing people that, like, people have faith in money. And what we need to do is convince people to have faith in themselves. And that's so much more difficult to do. The hardest thing for a person to do is to deal with themselves. It's the most difficult thing for a person to do, is to deal with themselves. There's nothing more difficult than that. That if you're one of those people who feel like you're in stasis, you're beat down, you're at the bottom of this capitalist system, always remember, right? Dealing with yourself is more difficult than all of that. And the fact that you're still standing, and the fact that you're still here, and the fact that you're still fighting, and the fact that you're still moving forward, shows that you're a very strong, capable person. That you're not weak because you got beat up by a system designed to beat you up. You're strong because you've withstood it, and you're still fighting and pushing against it. Good for you. Keep up the good fight. And keep facing up against yourself, because that's how you sharpen the blade. You sharpen the blade by looking in the mirror and dealing with yourself and asking yourself, what can I do within this ridiculous system that's collapsing all around me? And that's where the courage lies. Because it is easier to project into the world, and it is easier to do that, right? And so I encourage you to turn inward, look at yourself, and ask yourself, what can I do right now? And sometimes that answer is nothing, by the way. Like, sometimes that answer is, like, if a building is coming down, stand back and watch, baby. Like, you're not putting it back up. Dave says, John, it's because the West has been exposed as a hypocrite. Yeah. I mean, all ruling structures are hypocritical in some way. To me, the key component is unstable, right? Like, people sort of expect rulers to be a bit duplicitous or hypocritical. There's nothing new there, but it's like, but if it's predictable, like if you can say like, yeah, of course they're lying about that, right? This is what their objectives are, If their hypocrisy is a stable hypocrisy, then people are willing to go along with it. If the system is unjust but stable, people are willing to participate, right? It's only once the system becomes untenable and unstable that people really begin to fight back against it. And to me, that's what people are seeing. It's not the hypocrisy, it's the instability. That the West has become very unstable. Like, Donald Trump is literally, and as Compton is pointing out here, like ISIS stockpiling warheads. Yeah, please link the article in the Discord. I'll take a look at that for sure. Yeah, thank you, Compton. ICE stockpiling warheads and chemical weapons. Like, it's happening, guys. Like, it's a real thing that's occurring. Like, this is not like playtime. And like, this is what's making the rest of the world turn from America. Can you imagine if this was happening in China? Can you imagine if this was happening in Russia? What would our media be doing if this was happening on the streets of China right now? What do you think our media would be doing right now? If in Beijing, Communist Party military officials were stockpiling warheads and chemical weapons and walking through the streets, rounding up people off the streets, kicking in doors, going into buildings, arresting people, putting them into concentration camps. Like, what do you think the media would be saying if it was in China? And it is ramping up. And it's going to continue ramping up. That ICE is not going to go away. Like, this is how this is. Yep. The Western economies are growing weaker. That means they play meaner. 1 in 4 people in the world live in war zones. War zones created by the West. Yep. And like, it's this instability, and it's an instability. Like, it only makes logical sense if you're one of the 5 people at the top of the hierarchy, right? And even then, it doesn't make that much sense. Like, what makes this whole thing so pathetic is that the people of America and the people of the West actually ask for so little. Like, they're not asking to seize the means of production. They're not asking for control of the government. They're literally asking for a wage that pays the rent. Like, it's literally where we're at, and they can't even get that. So, like, this is why I say this, the biggest problem that we're looking at in America is that the ruling class is so stupid that the ruling class could solve a lot of these problems simply by relinquishing a small portion of their wealth. Like for real, they could just like go into neighborhoods and be like, yeah, we're just gonna cover the rent and pay for your food. It'll be fine. And it would be fine. They'd even get celebrated, exactly. Right? But they won't do it. And they won't do it because their religious ideology says that they shouldn't. Right? And it's a self-reinforcing thing. Like, if Elon Musk went into a neighborhood and started paying for people's rent and paying for people's food, his share price would go down. People wouldn't lend him any money. The capitalists would see him as a class traitor. And so his value would go down amongst the capitalists. So there's a self-reinforcing aspect to it. But it would be wise. It's why every so often one of them brings up the idea of a basic income, because I think that they're sussing each other out. Because I think that every so often one of them does sort of go, wouldn't this just be smart? Like, wouldn't this just be wouldn't this like kind of diffuse a lot of the tension? Wouldn't it mean that a lot of the anger and the frustration that exists in the country would sort of go and sort of like breathe out? But then you also just have the reality that, like, an organization like ICE is propelled forward by racism, pretty straightforwardly. And, like, the people who are involving themselves in ICE are just a bunch of losers who want a job. Like, that's it. Like, we've talked to these ICE people. Like, we know why they're doing what they're doing. They're not doing what they're doing because they're, like, virulent believers. They're doing what they're doing because it's a good paying job. That's it. And which is just in line with the book The Banality of Evil, where they did interviews with the Nazi soldiers and basically came up with, yeah, it was a good job, and I just did what I was told. I was just following orders. But none of the soldiers were, like, really that virulently anti-Semitic or, like, insanely over the top. They just knew that this is where the money is. Like, it is so pathetic. Like, think about the money we're spending just on ICE. Take that money, spend it on people's housing, spend it on people's food. Which one do you think would be better for your society? And so this is why people are turning away from the West. Because the West is no longer capable of making rational decisions. We're not in a rational space right now. That this is a hysteria. This is a hyper emotional time and a hyper emotional moment. And one of the hard realities about being a human is that people don't rationalize before they do things. They post-rationalize. I'll say that again because I think it's just really important, and it's something that I do. Everybody does this. I do it. It's something I work on, right? People don't rationalize in advance. They don't think something through and then do a thing, right? They are drawn towards a thing, and maybe they'll have some conversations with people they trust about that thing that they're drawn to, and then they'll do the thing, but it's only after the thing is done, in hindsight, your hindsight's 20/20, that they will rationalize. And so things are rationalized after the fact, once the thing is done. Which means most people are operating primarily through emotions. They trust their gut. They feel drawn to something. They feel that this is the right thing for them to do. And they might try to get advice, and they might try to get all this kind of stuff to sort of, but that's them. That's not them rationalizing it before they do it. That's them bringing in information to create the rationalization that they'll use after it's already done. And all of us are doing that all the time. Nations do that. Governments do that. That they'll create a rational argument to be used after the fact. And the same thing will happen here. That ICE is not created out of a place of reason. There is no reason for an organization like ICE to exist at all. ICE is very obviously a religious emotional hysteria manifest into the world. That is all they are. They don't make logical sense from any position, except like the bleak, dark, I want to hurt people angle, which maybe there's a bunch of them that are just like, yeah, I get to fuck people up, right? Sure. But that's not really a reasonable position or a rational position to hold, right? Like it's like trying to say racism is rational. It isn't. And so it's only after the fact that anybody even creates a rational, well, I guess it was done for this. No, it was done because you don't like Latinos. Like, that's it. Like, we don't need, why are we mincing words with this? You created ICE so that you could fuck up black people and Latinos. That's why you did this. Right? And the reason why you won't give everybody universal health care is because it means black people has it too. Right? And the reason why you won't create systems to alleviate food and shelter or to give people a leg up is because you might have to do that for black people and Latinos as well. Like, I don't know why we're mincing words with this. That we're in just a really childish place with a lot of this, where we're literally spending like 5 times the amount on weapons and war and civil war and destruction than we would just like housing people. That's what makes this so embarrassing. Well, did somebody come in and say something that I've missed it? Liberty Twitcher, I don't know if you're still here, writes, LOL, as though the behavior and choices... Oh, yeah, the hyper-individualist mindset. Yeah, this sort of odd idea that says reality doesn't exist. But let's read the comment. As though the behavior and choices that resulted in people not being able to pay their rent would suddenly be fixed by just giving them money. It absolutely would be. Every time we've done exactly that, it works exactly that way. So I know that you don't really care about evidence, because I know that your statement's not rooted in evidentiary observation. As a hyper-individualist, right? Hyper-individualists are just like in a very religious worldview where they believe that the actions of the individual are stronger than the actions of the universe and the society. That you can throw a person in the middle of the ocean, and if they drown, then it was their fault. Right? That's the mindset of the hyper-individualist. That there is no such thing as circumstance. There is no such thing as reality. Right? There is no set of circumstances that can possibly exist in order to to say, oh, that person needs help. Right? Like the hyper-individualist mindset says we should get rid of lifeguards, we should get rid of police, because everybody's actions are the only thing that matters, right? And that people should be able to defend themselves. If somebody is lost in the ocean, you shouldn't try to rescue them because it's their own fault, right? That's the hyper-individualist mindset. It's bleak. It's very dark. And most importantly, it's a very stupid way to look at the world. Like, it's so easily falsifiable. It's so simple to see how incorrect it is. Like, the monetary system, the economic system, is a system. And if the system is designed to deprive people of resources, then the solution to that problem is to provide resources for those people. And that's a very obvious, like, 1 + 1 = 2 kind of way of seeing things. That once you distill out your religious hyper-individualist worldview, you see very cleanly that, like, oh yeah, the way to feed people is to give them food. The way to house people is to give them houses. Like, and it is that easy, it is that straightforward. You just believe in a religion that convinces you otherwise. Well, and Hossein Kelwell, good to see you, my man. Hyper-individualists are not society material. I mean, hyper-individualism is very popular today because of people like Jordan Peterson. Like, the hyper-individualists are, like, they're madmen, right? But they have this kind of, like, Ubermensch, Superman kind of belief system, right? That says, like, I'm where I'm at because I've done everything I can. It's why I say one of the pillars of the religion of capitalism right now is the worship of the self, right? Because that's what it is. It's this worship of the idea that I am who I am and where I am because of me and nothing else. Like, ignore your parents, ignore your teachers, ignore your circumstances, ignore the time and place of your birth, ignore your own physical qualities that you were born with, ignore all of that. The only thing that matters is me and my choices, period, full stop. So it's a very, very selfish, self-ingratiating worldview that has been spread around by people like Jordan Peterson. I think Peterson is like the apex of it. He's the one that most cleanly articulated the most unself-aware version of it. Because if you were self-aware of it, you would be embarrassed by it, right? Because it is an embarrassing worldview. Like, you're literally just saying I'm great in the face of all the evidence to the contrary. That, like, maybe you are great. Like, maybe you are like a handsome, strong, powerful, wealthy, well-positioned person. But, like, do you think maybe being born to a family with $1 million had something to do with that? Do you think maybe the school you went to had something to do with that? Like, do you think maybe being born in a stable environment had something to do with that? Marry me, senpai. That's a cute name. Do you have any idea on how we could fix the rising inflation? So let's start with defining what inflation is. Let's not pretend like inflation is just a magical thing that happens, right? Inflation isn't just a law of nature. It doesn't just happen. What inflation is, very straightforwardly, is capitalist owners raising prices. That is all inflation is. It is a word that they have put on to try to lessen the blow so that they can try to have public communications without the onus of responsibility falling on them. So they've invented this word, inflation, to distract from what it actually is, which is just them raising prices. Okay, so now that we've established what inflation actually is, wealthy capitalists raising prices, how do you stop them from doing it? You jail them. That's what Richard Nixon did. When inflation was losing its mind during his tenure, he literally went on national television and said, if prices go up even a dime starting tomorrow, we will jail you. And guess what happened? All the inflation stopped. Oh, turns out that you can actually do that. That inflation isn't like a magical law of economics where prices must go up because of this. Because it's just rich people raising prices. That's all it is. Full stop. It's not more complex than this. And so my solution to inflation, start jailing capitalists. There's your solution. Blue Magic Man, COVID caused this. Nah. I mean, COVID is an interesting moment worthy of analysis, but the system of capital caused this. It's this structural reality of capital that I think you can point to COVID and say that it accelerated certain things that were already happening within capitalism. And it's certainly revealed the fraudulent nature of capital pretty nakedly. Like the passage of the CERB here in Canada, which is basically a basic income for Canadians. It's just like, yeah, we could do that at any time. Like we had a basic income here in Canada for a while, and it worked. And nobody talks about that anymore. Everybody's just like, yeah, we definitely had that basic income, but it went away for some reason. Like, it worked. It was perfectly functional. They just don't want it to exist because they know that it disempowers capitalists. So, like, the thing to remember, right, is your enemy is capitalists. That capital owners, people who own the means of production, who own the banks, those are your enemies. Your landlord is your enemy. These are not your friends, right? That there is only one important divide in the society, and it's not between you and a trans person. It's not between you and a woman. It's not between you and a person who has a different skin color or a different religion than you. It's between you, the person who has to sell yourself into wage slavery, and the person you're selling yourself to. And the solution that the communists offer is that we should be rid of the ownership class entirely. And that the workers, the people who are actually working in these establishments, should own the means of production. Housine said, we already saw the last stage of capitalism in 1929. Somehow it came back. Milton Friedman revived it. Well, they rebranded, right? Like the return of this free market capitalist idea, you can really call it a PR success because they rebranded is what they did, right? That they all kind of came to realize, like, oh, fascism is not popular, so we'll call it neoliberalism, right? And they just basically took all the economic precepts from fascism that the Nazis were using, and they just rebranded it. And they presented it in their houses and presented it across the board with this new language and with new, like... And they won't use regular language. They won't use common language. They'll use something like quantitative easing, right? Which is just giving money to rich people. Like they'll use fancy words and they'll use fancy language in order to cover their crime, which is pretty obvious once you break it through. It's like inflation. Oh, the inflation is just rising and there's nothing that we can do about it. It's such a mysterious puzzle to be solved. It's just rich people raising prices. That's all it is. It's just a rich person being like, I could just charge more. And that's all it is. Like, there's so many, like our education system and our media system are all owned by these people. Capitalists own all of this stuff. And so this is what's led to mass confusion in the public, that the public have been heavily indoctrinated into a religion that insists it isn't a religion, that basically exists to completely suppress them. And what's hilarious is, like, if you have this conversation about, like, Christianity from the 5th century, right? Everybody is like, yes, of course, the papacy and the Vatican existed to control the populace through narrative, PR crafting, and storytelling, and all this. And the only reason it doesn't seem silly to us, the only reason why the capitalist narrative doesn't seem so silly to us, is because we were born into it. Whereas for the Christians, we're the observers of it. We have hindsight, so we can look at it and be like, they genuinely believed that a magic wizard ascended to the heavens and is going to come back at any moment. Ho, 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 ho. What a bunch of backwards, silly people. Quick cut to a guy 500 years from today going, they actually believed that invisible numbers could dictate who was supposed to be considered a good or bad person in the society? Ho, 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 ho. What a bunch of backwards idiots. And they, of course, will be doing that very thing within their own backwards idiocy, right? Because that's just humanity, baby. We really struggle to see the truth that's in front of us. We do a lot better in hindsight. But and that's why the study of history is so important, so that you can see something in hindsight, see it with clarity, and then you can sort of transpose that and go, oh, that's happening there. Is something similar happening here? And something similar is happening here. We're worshiping money as a god. We are placing that god ahead of basic resources and just basic reason. And we are allowing the acolytes of that religion to run amok. If I tend to believe that we live in a theocracy. I tend to discuss what this is a theocracy. That it's a theocracy of capital. And they do a really, really good job pretending as though they're like a secular science, right? That's super, super, super important. It's just super important that they get you into a position where you think this is how it has to be. It can't be not like this. That to try to make it not like this is to lead to disaster, right? That is their primary line of defense. And they'll even say things like, look, I also don't like it. Right? I'm not the biggest fan of it, the billionaire landlord will say. But it's just how it is. We just have to accept how it is. And the answer to that is, of course we don't. Of course we don't have to accept that. Why? Why should we? And their answer is always, well, if you try to do something about it, I'll cause problems. Right? A tacit admission that I've taken the economy hostage, and we're going to destroy it if you try to do something about it. Which steadily my response has been, then let's get to it, baby. Let's get to it. Fiddleford writes, you're looking healthy, John. Well, that's kind of you to say, my man. I've been working out. I've been resting. I've been relaxing. So, getting out of that corporate capitalist job was a good idea. I am currently looking for another. The TESL training is going well, but I'm going to need a little something to get me through, I think, to get my bills paid. What a weird reality, man. What a weird place to be. This place could be a real oasis, We've got everything we need, and then some, to really make this place a beautiful, beautiful garden, just a beautiful place that could be a real rest. The people spawning into this reality could be like, wow, this is a really beautiful, restful place. That the higher energy or the higher being or the higher force that exists around us could really look at this place and be like, oh yeah, I'd love to spend a little bit of time there. Let's spend some time there. That looks a lot better. Yeah, a nice relaxing vacation before I head back over to Galacton 54 and the intergalactic spice wars or whatever. You know? But instead we're doing this dumb shit. And it's like primarily annoying. I think that's the thing about it that is just like maddening more than anything, is that like if we were all mobilizing and going to war and like fighting intergalactic space beings, or if there was some kind of like crazy nonsense going on, like at least there would be this sense of like purpose, even if it was wrapped up in horror and all of this. This is just annoying because it's just a bunch of sniveling, snot-nosed Millhouse nerds, basically. Like, look at this loser. Like, look at him. Just look at this fucking guy. This just, like, dopey dog. Like, okay, well, we're gonna do this thing to impoverish the country, but it makes 5 people happy. No. And we love it. Like, it's annoying. It's annoying that anybody takes this seriously. It's annoying that the majority of Canadians are like, yes, I trust the failure to succeed. He'll win this time. I'm sure of it. Like, I think everyone, like, huge sections of the society are going to have to literally see Mark Carney with, like, the Hamburglar mask, holding a bag with a $sign on it, saying, "Ha-ha, I tricked you, Canadians," and then shoot off to, like, Argentina or something for people to finally go, I think maybe he wasn't telling the truth about all that. Alright, guys, I think I've reached the end of this one. Nice to come back and stream. Glad you guys were all here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Always remember, guys, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck. We're gonna need it.